Hey everybody, thought I'd do a little drive between Cable and Tehachapi today. You can see over my shoulder here some track equipment. That's the tail end of the concrete tie gang. As you've seen in some of the other videos that I've done and some of my drives and some of the other things, there have been a lot of concrete ties lying along the tracks, and this is what they're for. They are definitely got a big project going. They're strung out. Behind me there is tunnel 17, and you can just barely see the portal of it over my shoulder down there, about, I don't know, quarter of a mile behind us. But anyway, they're strung out between tunnel 14 and tunnel 17. They are on the tracks, and I noticed that there's a surfacing crew working on the bridge of the fourth crossing of Tehachapi Creek, just below the loop. I'll link in the description below a video of a train I shot there looking up at the loop. It's a very cool video. But anyway, not going to see any trains today, obviously, since they got single track taken up. Don't know when they'll get finished with that. But anyhow, gives a good opportunity to drive from Cable to Tehachapi. Let's go check it out. All right, we're going to start right here. You can see the freeway there. That's Highway 58. And the mountains up behind Tehachapi. Tehachapi's about 2 miles that way. But we're going to head off down toward down into Cable here. This is obviously the access road to Cable from the freeway. I'm not actually going to drive down in there, but you can see the track equipment down there. That is a tamper and a couple of regulators, and they generally are the last pieces of equipment in any big project. They tamp the rail, and the regulators get the ballast right and sweep everything off and make it look pretty when they're done. So, and they are right, the actual location control point of Cable is just around that corner. This road is generally in pretty good shape. There is the switch for the Cable spur. Use that to park equipment in. That's where the equipment was parked when I did my piece on explaining some of the track equipment, at least as far as my knowledge of it went. And I actually did part of my hand throw switches deal from there. I'll link both of those in the description below as well. That down there, that is Tehachapi Creek. And see some of the houses up on the hills there overlooking the tracks. And they obviously didn't start the tie project up here because these are not new ties. They're old, crusty old, they're concrete, but they're old concrete ties. Oh boy. another little, once you go back up that way behind us there, up that hill, there's another gate up there. You can come down this way from the freeway if you need to. I've never needed to. Right back there, there used to be what was called a measuring circuit, and it was a certain distance from the control point at cable, and it was only about 100 feet long. And the dispatcher had a light on their board, and if a train was going down the hill and occupied the control point at cable before that measuring circuit cleared, that meant that that train was too long to fit in the siding at Waylong down at the loop, because it was a pretty short siding. But since they double tracked all that down there, that is no longer an issue, and that measuring circuit is long gone. See off down that canyon there, that used to be the Golden Hills campground. When we first moved to Tehachapi in 1969, it was an active campground. It was open actually until into the early 80s, but my parents were hired to run the equestrian center at Golden Hills, and some of the guys that worked for us, one of their jobs was to go down there and empty the trash cans and take barrels of water down there. And I was 9-10 years old at the time. They used to take me with them down in there. It was a pretty neat place, but it's all sealed off now. You can't get down there. Well, I suppose you could if you wanted to, but it is definitely no longer a campground. Set of curve oilers. Couple of these are called whistle boards, X boards, crossing boards. This X means that there is a crossing a quarter of a mile down the tracks, and the train should be prepared to sound their horns for the crossing. Even if it's a private railroad crossing, it doesn't matter. All crossings have those boards. I was watching a deal about old railroads the other day, back in the steam days, and a lot of the crossings they didn't sound their horns for at all, which I found interesting. But they certainly do now, unless there's a no horn zone like there is in downtown Bakersfield on the BNSF. Nothing coming behind us, nothing coming ahead of us. And this, I said that we wouldn't see any trains, but this is double track, and they could actually bring a train down here on the track that they're not working on and park him. So there's always a chance that there could be a train, even if they're doing work down below. They can always bring a train up and park him somewhere. So always be on the lookout for trains. They always said any time is train time. And one of the rules, as I've said before on the railroad, is expect the movement of trains at any time on any track in either direction, because you just never know. Now this down here is the 6th crossing of Tehachapi Creek. For those of you who saw my video on the Great Tehachapi train wreck of 1883, right up here, just before you got to that crossing of Tehachapi Creek, is where the cars left the rails. And that would have been right over there. We are approaching the cable crossover. You can see that those signals are lit red, which means that certainly nothing is cleared this way. Oh, sorry about that. Don't have a lot of interesting tales about the cable crossover. We did have a big derailment down here just west of here one time, and I gave one of the honchos, I don't recall his name at this time, I gave him a ride from up by where we'll end this trip down to where the derailment was, and the roads were in horrific shape at the time, and they brought in a bunch of equipment and smoothed all these roads out so they could get the equipment in there and people could get in there more easily. And I was giving him a ride. I said, that's a shame we had to have a major derailment and just get these roads fixed up. He did not see the humor in that. He didn't get mad about it, but he didn't think it was funny. But I did, and that's all that mattered, really. I have some photographs that are loaned out right now of this area in the I think it was in during the 32 flood, when this was all still single track, and it was pretty bizarre looking. I'll have to see if I can get those photographs back from the guy that I have them loaned to at some point. This water that runs alongside the base of this hill here drains off the side of this hill. The water table is high, or there's a spring or something. I've never stopped to investigate it, but it has run like this ever since I was a kid, and we used to come down here with our BB guns and fiddle fart around. That water has always come out of the side of the hill, starting right here. As I said, I've never climbed up to see if there's a spring up there or if it just drains out the side of the hill. As you know, just the water table being there doesn't really matter. But another curve oiler. Looks like one of these pieces of equipment that came down here knocked a piece of this tree off. Careful driving down here with all these people working down here. You never know who might come popping up over a hill. Nice and silty there. Go get my truck washed again, which doesn't make any difference. In Bakersfield, you go get your truck washed or your car, and within a few days it's dusty as heck again, because that's just the nature of the air in Bakersfield. This bridge here is the modern alignment of Highway 202/Tucker Road. I can't even remember exactly when this was built, in the mid 2000s, I think, 05, 06, something like that. But you can see that fill right there. That's where the road used to be. Ran across on a curve over to that fill to the right of the bridge, and the bridge came across here. And in about 1998 or 99, I actually met Caltrans down here. Might even have been before that, when I was still a gang foreman. But they did a seismic upgrade on this old bridge at that time, and then within 5 or 6 years they did the upgrade. We had to come here and reroute some underground cable and make a few changes. And within 5 or 6 years, they tore that bridge down and replaced all that. So I'm not going to say all that work was for nothing, but it kind of was. All right, and this is where we start the tangent double track into Tehachapi. No more curves. Track speed picks up here. 60 miles an hour on this track, 25 on the other. Three-quarter sign. The next milepost in a quarter of a mile will be milepost 360. There's the shunt for Green Street. Include the playlist here of how things work in the signal department, and it explains what the shunt enclosures are for as far as the crossings. And the Roadrunner, I don't know where the coyote is, but there's the Roadrunner. Maybe he thinks I'm the coyote. Get out of the way, dummy. Oh my goodness. Big pile of concrete ties from their project. But it really upsets the places that used to buy all the wood ties from the railroad for about 50 cents a piece and sell them to places like Home Depot for $5 a piece, so they could sell them to you for $15 a piece. Just aren't a lot of wood ties left. Up the valley, they're all still wood ties, unless they've changed that since I've left. All right, we are in Tehachapi proper now. If I were to get off at the Mill Street exit off 58, this is where I would end up, in that little road right there. See that rail there? That is from the old house track here in Tehachapi. They used to switch the trains off so they could things at the depot. sometimes passengers, but they usually just left the train. They unload the passengers on the main line and get them going. The train didn't stop very long here at Tehachapi. There's somebody in a non-railroad truck coming down this way. He thinks I'm going to get out of his way. He's mistaken. Oh, maybe it's one of the museum guys. Get to say howdy to him. Doesn't look like one of the museum guys, but maybe it is. We'll see. And there is the Tehachapi Depot Museum. And the Green Street Crossing. All right. Well, get out and see what the weather's like in Tehachapi. All right. Well, that will conclude a little cruise from Cable to Tehachapi along the right-of-way. Hope you enjoyed it. Not a lot down there to see, but it's still a nice, interesting, bouncy, curvy, climby drive. As usual, if you have any ideas, things you want to see me do or look into, let me know in the comments below. Shoot me an email at motopoet59@gmail.com. And like, share, subscribe, and click on the bell if you want to be notified of future content. And when the coronavirus is over, feel free to come up and check out the Tehachapi Depot Museum. It's really an awesome place. All right, y'all take care. We will see you on the next adventure.